We are back. It is Wednesday, and that means it is house tour day. Um, just want to remind folks of a few things before we get started, and to give folks time to gather if they want to chat with us live. I am tweeting because I forgot last week. I didn't realize until I closed everything down that I had the tweet set, and then I forgot to send it. So, yeah, I blame my old age. Also, Poi won't be joining us this morning. She's our moderator for the channel, for those of you that aren't familiar with Poi's lovely presence. I'm not exactly sure why. I assume it has to do with some personal business that she had to tend to. But hopefully she'll be back with us next time. But we wish her well. And we'll just have to behave ourselves while she's not here to slap the wrist of anybody misbehaving. We do have maintenance today coming in game. It's I believe it's a 3-hour maintenance, so a bit of a long one. I don't know if there's anything special coming in, but just a heads up on that. It's the usual time. I think it's 4 a.m. PDT, 1 p.m. CET time, something like that. Also, the residential renovation is still ongoing. You've got a couple days to finish that up. I think it goes until the 19th of this month. So if you haven't gotten involved in that, be sure and do that. It's a monthly housing event. It lasts for about a week. And the rewards rotate. I think there's like 3 set loot tables, and each month they just switch. So if you don't catch it this time, or you didn't get as much of the pieces that you wanted, wait a couple months and it'll come back around. But this one's was the battle chase stuff. It includes the NPC decor pack goodies. I think there's some Dominion builders pack and the Exile builders pack, and those things include things like the bunker houses, the weapons crates, the tanks, stuff like that. So if you're really interested in getting some of those faction-specific items for whatever reason, then this is the renovation event for you. Again, that's going to run for a couple more days until the 19th. So if you haven't grabbed some of those, be sure and do so. Good morning, Bones, and anyone else that happens to be lurking around in the channel. I know a lot of our viewers will sneak in and kind of listen in or just kind of watch, but they don't necessarily chit-chat. That's quite all right. We don't mind. But if you do have questions, we're happy to answer them. Usually, it's best if they pertain to housing, since that is our main focus or only focus. But it doesn't hurt if you have questions other than that regarding the game. A lot of the folks in chat experience lots of other aspects of the game than I do. So I'm sure they will try and point you in the right direction for information if they can't necessarily answer it. But I do encourage you, if you're newer to WildStar and are still kind of fumbling around for guides or advice and stuff, do check out the forums. There's a lot of helpful folks there. So if you have a specific need or question or confused about something, that's the best place to seek out information. Hey, Chris. Good morning. Glad you could join. Okay, so our goal was kind of, sort of, to do tours of the plots that, or the community plots that won the community showdown competition that Carbine hosted last year. We started on that. We got to the 2 winners of each region, and we've seen a couple that didn't necessarily get even an honorable mention. And then last week we saw one of the first honorable mentions, I think. And today we're going to take a look at another one. Now, it seems like I'm kind of focusing on community plots pretty heavily, but that's because, again, I want to get through all of those that won or were honorably mentioned or at least participated in the showdown from last year. I want to get through all of those for sure. There are other communities that will be popping up here and there, but we won't be doing them as regularly. I still want to do some individual plot tours because not everybody has embarked on these grand building projects. So I don't want to forget the little guys. So we'll be mixing them in intermittently from there on. But for now, we're going to continue with the participants list that I put together with the help of a few other builders. Feeling a little warm. Anyway, so today we are on Jabbit-EU, and this community is called Rome, and I think you'll get why. It's pretty clear how they followed along the theme of this. I'm not necessarily going to mention every name as we come across the individual plots, but they will be included in the video description later when it gets uploaded to YouTube, so be sure and check that out if you're interested in visiting yourself. I'm going to take a quick look up here. From what I saw, I kind of came through here yesterday just to do a quick little sneak peek for myself, and from what I saw, they have the entire border of the community aligned up with this kind of double area. There's actual doors down here so you can access this little pocket of space, and then it's lifted up, and then they have the scanners blocking, instead of using just plain glass, they use the Dominion scanners to block your access to the outside of it, so you're locked in here. So you get kind of a view all the way around, but again, it's a little bit obscured with these bits here. The scanners, it kind of obscures it a bit. So it's not a great place for like screenshots and stuff. I will be hopping around on other parts of the plots to kind of show some better like sky bird's eye views of some of the areas, but just wanted to let you know that I'm not going to run around this entire perimeter, but I believe it's pretty much the same. There's like little cutouts and things so you can see below, but it's pretty much, as far as I could tell, was empty, even though there's doors and such. But you can see how it just keeps on going. It just extends all the way around to that. So just to let you know. Also, there are bunker houses on this community. All 5 plots have them, but none of them are in use. I think I only found one that had a few items kind of sitting in there, but it looked like they were just kind of thrown in for like storage or something. So we won't be visiting any of those today, because like I said, there's like nothing in them, so there's really no need. So while this is a community plot and there are 5 plots to visit, I have a suspicion that we won't be needing a second tour time tomorrow. We'll probably be able to cover this all in one go today, but we'll see. It depends on how, sidetracked I get in chatting about stuff. Hey TW, glad you could join. So we're going to be starting, I kind of, when I do these tours, I always start here and I just kind of go counterclockwise. Maybe other folks would do it differently, but that's just the way I route through these, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than that's just my little quirk. I'm going to hop on the feedster here so we can, I don't know if I can get a good, I know there's a staircase over here, but I was hoping to avoid running all the way around. But you can see this is the outside of that perimeter, or the inside, however you want to look at it. It's basically curved walls and floor pieces, a lot of Draken pillars. Again, the doors are there, but like there's nothing inside. But I like how they have these little parts, these little insets here where the statues are located. Lots of banners, and of course this is a Dominion community, so there's a lot of Dominion-y flavor, the gold and the red. You can see over here they've got the busts on top of the main entrance. Good shot of the front here. the busts and the statues here. And then along some of the parts, while the building or structure doesn't completely surround it, the rest of it is lined with the bushes with the flowers. I think it's a part of that hedge stuff here, like this, some of the green hedges with the flowers in it. I don't think they're actual trees. They're just oversized hedges, which is a big favorite of mine. It's kind of quick and easy, but they've recolored the floors to make it look like grass, like little mounds of greenery there. We'll check out some of the other surrounding sides as we go, but we're going to just kind of start here. This is Notre Dame de Chua by Boom Boom Damage. I love the character name. It sounds like something my husband would put together. You can see this is where you would actually enter the plot if you just visited the player themselves, and then you would start off here. Again, these are hedges from the hedge pack, I believe. The building itself, though, I don't know where to begin on it. Obviously, they're using a lot of the stained glass windows from the, I think it's called the Fancy Pants Decor Pack. It's where you've got a lot of like the Cassian version of the candle on a pole thing, and then they've got a small little candle deal, and mostly just the newer stained glass windows. There's one that we can actually craft as architects, but the other patterns come from the pack itself. But you can see they've got even some organ pieces here, the pillars there for part of it. You can see like this bit archway here, that's I believe it's the charming bar or the bookcase. Kind of hard to tell. I suspect it might be the bookcase, but I'm not really positive on that. Look at all the little glass here that they've got. It's kind of hard to see from a distance. Let me see if I can get closer to this here. But they tried to make their own kind of stained glass window. It's large framed glass, but it's been cleverly overlapped because, again, I told you, if you have a single layer of framed glass, it's one shade of kind of bluish white. But as you layer it up more and more with additional panes of glass, it becomes more frosted. If you go up to like 24 or 25 layers, then it's basically just a solid white thing. That's what we've used for like the backdrops or the canvases of some paintings I've done in the past. But you can see if you play around with the positioning and the layering, you get different shades of frosting to that, and it gives it a nice, like an old-fashioned glass works. And they've done that in a good many of the windows. I can get up here so we can see a little better now. Draken pillars for some of it, around this way. Trees are kind of blocking the view, which is unfortunate. This stained glass window up here, that's the Datascape window. It's just multiples of them. You can see a little bit of the animation, but it's just multiples of them layered in. We've seen some folks use that on the ground, kind of like a flower pattern for their gardens and stuff. But this one takes it a whole new level, meaning, however you want to go with it. Got some of the Draken statues. Again, I think that's the charming bar for a lot of that archwork. Again, it's hard to show the building because it just, Here's that. It's the same um, Datascape window arrangement. It's just bigger. There's those charming bars, multiples of them to give that little oomph to the hallway or whatever that is. We'll be going inside here shortly, and you'll see it from the interior. There's those bars again. Archways, I think it's primarily the granite version to give it a kind of a stone look. Here's the Datascape windows just as is, and then you can see how they've layered them in nicely. Make a lovely pattern there. On this side of the building, they have a little garden. I think it was just a way of showing some of the plants that they'd collected. There's not any kind of rhyme or reason as to, it's not like they have just roses or just a specific type of plant. They've got all sorts here. There's desert plants, moon plants, ones from Celestia and ones from other locations in the game. So it's an easy way, if you have a garden feature, it's an easy way of just kind of throwing them all in and hoping that, it doesn't look too haphazard. Okay, so I think this is the main entrance, and again, it's 3 doors, but it all leads to the same big room. Again, playing with the different archways and stuff, give it just that little extra. But you can see how massive the structure is. It's like huge. Even the doors, I mean, look at my character size in comparison. It's like made for Osun giants, for sure. So let's just start on the right, I guess. You've got these little alcoves with like remembrance type of deals. The stairs are made out of hover part pieces. I don't know the name specifically of which, but like there's 90 pieces. I'm not going to be able to keep track of all of those. Here's a good upper view. That lovely window. Again, the animation kind of swung, especially if I start moving, you can see how it kind of like jitters. I don't know if that's just my graphics card wigging out or if it's just how they've layered it. It looks kind of wonky like that, but yeah. So here's a bird view of what we're going to be visiting later. All the chairs, some of these are Macari and others are like the Dominion benches. Very open and much like, I don't know if this is supposed to be like a university thing. I don't know what this is called. We've seen it several times during our past visits. I have no idea. There's those bars again, cover part pieces for some of these corner bits. Another entrance to the building. I think it has like 2 side entrances and the main one's in the front. For all of this railing here, those are the golden arrows. Nicely used. Again, with the Dominion plot, if you're really going full out, we have tons and tons of items, not just Dominion specific, but other items that have golden um, details that really suit when you're aiming for that bit. There are different shades of gold. This is a gold, but it's more of a yellow gold, and this is kind of more orangey. But yeah, still works really nice. Gonna run around to the other side. Again, if you have any questions specific, if I'm passing by something that you're curious about and I haven't mentioned it or noted it, feel free to ask in the chat. I do want to remind you that there's a bit of a delay for the chat, so I may not catch it straight off and I'll have to backtrack a little bit, but I don't mind. That's perfectly fine. Here's some of those lights. I didn't identify them last time we saw them, but they come from that same pack that the windows come from. Yeah, I try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes I get a little caught up in what I'm gabbing about. So it's not that I'm ignoring you guys, it's just kind of get a little lost. Again, the other side entrance. We'll take a little closer look at those as we move forward. Okay, it looks like we can go up a little bit higher on this side. So just gives you an idea of the immense size of the structure. It just goes and goes. Let's see. So there's the main entrance to the community plot. You can see in the distance the Forum and the Coliseum. I'm like horrible at jumping, so my apologies on that. It's a great, I like that they added the stairs so you can get up here and really get some nice screenshots of some of the overall layout of the plot. If I can get myself over there without falling off, that'll be good. There's part of that outer perimeter again. You see they've got ships and stuff lined up. Some strange waterfall features that the water seems to come from nowhere. I think one of these is a, oh, what's it called? A temple area. I think it's this one here. Okay, let me try and get back to the stairs. Um, honestly, Grace, I'm not sure. I think the one we visited last week was a single individual. Um, it's really hard to tell unless you're familiar with like a lot of the alt names of a particular builder. But I noticed that there was at least three that I could identify as an alt. So I kind of presumed that that was a single player last time. This one I honestly can't say because um, while I like to think that I'm pretty in the know with some of the main builders. There's a lot of folks that I just haven't interacted with, so I have no idea who is who. I think Carbine put this community system together in the mindset that there would be more cooperative building. There was already such before that. I knew of a lot of individual plots that were actually put together by groups of people. They would like allot certain um, decor counts, say, okay, you get 150 and you get 150 and stuff like that, especially for guild groups. When they would put together a guild plot, they would allot certain amounts of decor and space for guild mates and say, hey, have at it, whatever you want to put in there, that's yours. So co-op building isn't like a new thing, but I think this particular system is meant to encourage that. But as with any other thing, when you have super enthusiastic builders, when they're given more space and more decor allotments, they're going to take advantage of it. So there are a good many communities that are just built by a single individual. Oftentimes it's plots that they've already built and they just find a way to mesh them together cleanly by using that uh, communal zone that's all around the individual plots, this area here. They're able to blend in those individual plots in a way that makes them look like a cohesive element. And others, I think, have just taken up the challenge of starting from scratch and building these things. Because we've kind of known that the community system was coming. So those that already knew they were going to be putting an expansive build together kind of had a head start in planning at least. Um, I think the main issues were how they were going to actually physically connect, what kind of items would be, like there was a lot of trouble with, say you had an oversized item at the edge here, sometimes it would bleed over to the next one when you didn't want it to. So those that had already built up the outer area of their plot, whether they built it up with stones or oversized trees or whatever, they had to kind of refurbish those to better blend them and make room. Because I know, like there was one, Siskwi, she had a like a cave system, and in her mind, all of the plots were already connected. She just kind of uh, set it up that way on the individual plots. Now that they're all joined onto a single community, she had to rework a lot of the paths and the cave bits to kind of make sure that they actually did connect properly instead of just via her imagination. So yeah, I don't know if this one is more than one person or not. Um, Either way, as you say, it's an amazing effort. Again, it's not always you know, it sounds like it's easy. You pick a theme and you just kind of run with it, but oftentimes folks will pick something, and since you have 5 plots, you think, okay, I have to have come up with 5 major elements, and sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds to put that together. Yeah, I imagine those are. It's probably one of the reasons why I haven't even tried to think about, because I've got, I don't think any of my plots really work well together. So I don't think it would be something that I could do to piece them together in a way, because like I have a winter plot and then a spring plot and then an Asian plot, and they just, it doesn't seem like it would be a logical grouping. I think if I did a community, I'd have to start from scratch with, you know, 5 alts of some kind of grouping to get them to put something together. But I haven't the time or the inspiration to put something like that together right now. I'm enjoying watching other people put their works together and showing it off for them. Just letting you guys see the side entrances here, how they've got the red carpeting inset into here. Um, Pardon me. I don't know if it's just my graphic setting, but every now and then you'll see flashes of where things are overlapping directly. It's kind of like the two items can't occupy the same space and it flickers. There's ways of getting around that, but sometimes there's just no avoiding it, and you just kind of have to forgive the builders when it does kind of show up. So let me go back up here for a second. I'm not really naming stuff because I think most of it is pretty identifiable. There's not a lot of like these here, these little ridges here. It's just part of that golden arrow again. You just insert it so you don't see the arrow part, but it works nicely to kind of matchy. It still goes well together. Again, a lot of the granite style walls and stuff, the archways and everything, all nicely done. Tons of chairs and things. Uh, Again, this little bit here, the little staircase, those are the heart shape, I think. Not heart shape, but heart something themed coffee table. The one that has the, like, I call it a blue butterfly. Some of us will sink it down to where just the blue is showing and we kind of pretend like it's a bathroom rug or something. There's the Macari table for this little bit here, and then they're using one of those newer sim NPCs. These things here, I don't know the item name in particular. It's a newer thing. I don't know if it's specifically related to Red Moon or not, but like a little tiki chua or something. Obviously, these don't come with the skull heads on them. Those have been placed on. And then the front of this is, again, that charming bar. I think it's upside down to the front. But very grand. This could be a church, a meeting hall, a guild hall. Um, oh, for the bunker house. Let's see, where is that thing? Around here somewhere. There. It's actually located right here. You can see the pop-up for the door. But again, they're empty. I checked them all yesterday just to verify. But they are all, nothing in them. Well, one has like some cages and stuff, but it's just like thrown in haphazard. Decorative totem. Okay, thanks. Thanks, TW. Oh, I don't really pay much attention to most of the names. I just, if I see it and I use it, then great. But again, I haven't really had time to play, so I don't get a lot of the new items. And if it's part of a Madame Faye or cash shop set, I tend to not purchase those, so I don't really get to play around with a lot of the newer, fancier goodies. So I think that's all for this particular structure. Just take a look here. See the lamp there. And again, this archway is just by using multiples of the arches and then sizing them down slightly so you get that tiered kind of like stair step sort of. Excuse me. I'm trying not to hack all over the place, but I'm having a hard time holding it in. A lot of this stuff here, like these pillars and the gate, those I think are from the Dominion town pack or city pack or something. Excuse me. I'm just not having a good morning. So forgive. Okay, the next main structure on the block is, I believe it's called the Saint Pierre du Dominion, or de Dominion. I think it's something like that. See if I can back up here so you can see the entrance to it. It's mostly, I think, floor pieces, and they've just really nicely detailed it out, so it's got multiple layers to give it a little bit more of a design. Again, using those golden arrows, and then the exile walls, I think, for the red. The columns are just cylinders, and then either the solids, well, either these are cylinders or tubes. The tubes are the hollow ones. But the solid ones, they're either using those here or the domes. And then they just size them up again to give that extra little oomph on the ends. You see that a little better here. We've seen other ways of doing columns. You can use pillars. They're really a big favorite for those that are using them as uh, pillars for like old ruins or Roman type things like this, or just like for grand buildings like libraries and museums and things like that. You take the single pillar, you grab a second one, and you just twist it slightly, and it gives it that roundish look rather than the square pillar that we typically have. Some do it with just two pillars, and others go ahead and go for a third just to give it a little extra. But this works just as well. Again, this does have a bunker. I believe it's located somewhere under the fountain. I tried to see if I could get the door to pop open, but or to have the little pop-up, but it didn't pop up for me yesterday, so I'm not even going to try today. But again, it's got this weird water feature, sourceless water feature that just pours out. And you've got this whole, I don't know if this, I assume this is representative of something known in Roman stuffs, but I am not familiar with it enough to know if it's really kind of on point as far as, like all the statues and how they, are lined up and everything. It looks awesome. Again, it's massive in size. Just goes on and on. And again, this is where the statues here and then the planes above. A lot of use of those Dominion screens, but then you also have that arrow again. They constantly bring the arrow back. Yeah, TW. I'm if there's a bug going around, I'm gonna catch it. I'm very puny in that way. So yeah, I can imagine going around and what's fun is my son and my husband will leave the house and bring all the cooties back. They don't catch it, but they spread it to me, and it's not very fun. These bits here, of course, are the Dominion conference tables. They're just using them as kind of like wall decoration. I think this is a raid reward. I'm not really sure about that. I don't really raid anymore, so I just assume that a lot of the things that I never see are from raids or dungeons and stuff because I just don't do those activities. Haven't for what seems like years. There's a good shot of the columns and everything. That's the Notre Dame thing that we come out of in the beginning. And I believe this is the temple that we'll be visiting next. Again, you can see how they've had to kind of tinker with the positioning of these floor bits to make it that nice curved shape. So it's not a perfect smooth curve, but they've done it in a way that looks nice. They've had to just figure out how to angle it just right and inset it off and on. And of course, the water itself, I believe, has been recolored in some cases to a nice blue. This bit down here, I suspect, is one of the newer waterfalls, and then these up here are the older version. Just because the newer ones have the animation on the top and the bottom, this bit here, but I only see it down here, so I suspect it's a combination of the two. But these for sure have been recolored to a kind of a bluish green because I think the old waterfalls are typically like a weird gray water. So the color shifting has been a heaven sent to a lot of builders. Now this fountain is of course an actual fountain and they just added the water to it. But this part here I believe is the charming bars again. Moving along. Very symmetrical. I like that in my designs. I'm not very good at just kind of spotting things here and there and making it look like it's natural. Again, that's probably one of the reasons I'm not good with landscaping, because I keep things too lined up, too uniform. But like that kind of structure build, I can really get behind because it's very straight and everything's same from side to side. Here's some of those topiary critters. I think it's the Girok or something. Looks like a gorilla almost. I'm just gonna come out here to get a better view of the temple here. You can see that they're using the same column setup as they have over here. It's just a little longer, I think, and skinnier, narrower, however you want to say it. And then I think they're using the exile walls and then putting the triangle pieces to help that diamond pattern that's going around the edges. Again, not so easy to get these to blend well, but they've done a good job, I think, of hiding parts, trying to make it look nice and uniform and clean. It's not an easy thing to do. So this is the Temple of Jupiter by Master Yodos, I think. There we go. Again, the columns pretty much the same, lots of floors, or even the roof and everything, just layered in nicely. They've changed the texture here a little bit. I think it's the Oran walls or that bubbly stone. The stairs here, honestly, I think it's some kind of Eldon piece for the sides, and then it's those heart-shaped tables or heart theme, heart collection, something like that, for the stairs itself. I think these are homemade construction there. On the sides, before we go inside the temple itself, you see they've added a little extra. This is the entrance, the individual entrance. If you come by the name of the plot owner instead of the community itself, you'll pop up here. You can see that they've used, it looks to be upside down umbrella tree, possibly. Not really sure. It's not an upside down snowy hill because it's not white with the little puffs. But the stairs here, those are just either domes or cylinder pieces, just sized up gradually and stair step down. And then, of course, the stones for the little garden works along the edges. I don't think there's anything in here, but I'm going to take a quick look. Yeah, it's just part of that empty perimeter that goes all the way around on some parts. You can see the temple itself has stairways on, I think, almost all sides. And then they're using what I believe to be the Protostar Insta Hills for these little mound bits here. You can see the trim of it. Some of the builders like to hide the trim because they want it to blend naturally to the next part of the ground. But in here, I think it works nicely that they leave the trim showing because it looks more like a, again, like a very precise landscaped kind of feel to it. These stairs are pillars, just the Cassian version. I couldn't find any place inside or outside that gave you access to the what I presume to be the bunker house, but it's directly underneath the temple. I just couldn't find any place that was actually accessible. Just going around and around. Yeah, I think the main entrance is on the other side. Again, a really ragtag mix of flowers. There's some from Galeris, there's some from uh, the desert areas. Into temple. Again, lots of seating. It's tiered up on Oran walls. You see the two different layers. And then these here where it looks like carpeted flooring, that's just the uh, Cassian walls. This wooden part, that's part of the Oran walls. So it just kind of works out nicely that it's half the time we wish that we didn't have those wooden parts attached to it, and the other half it works out nicely that they are there. So yeah, the bunker house would be somewhere around in here, but down below. They had fun with the color shifting for these grimoires. All of these books were individually placed in here. For this little dais or whatever you want to call it, floors just tiered out. And again, similar setup to the other place that we were in with the Macari table and the Sim NPC. Oh, maybe this is it. I didn't even notice this the last time I visited, so there you go. There's treasure under here. Maybe there is something in this bunker house. I'll have to look because let's see, where are we? Okay. So yeah, you can see all the columns under here. That's interesting. Here we go. And since they purposely led you to this, I'm curious if there's actually anything in it. And there is. Wow. A little kabar. These are those ornate chests. They're a big fave for those that want to have like wall safes and stuff, or make their own banks because of this little gadgetry here. Big fave. But if you go for this surface or the top part where it's kind of, I can't get my camera up there, but it's got a gold. You can kind of see here, but there's like full-on gold at the tip top. A lot of people use that for their cabinetry, like for bathrooms and kitchens and stuff. That looks a little funky crooked there, but the stage here is just decking pieces. Yeah, not too much going on, but yeah, it was surprising. I thought there wasn't an access to this area here, and I was happily proven wrong. You can see the underneath of the stairs from the outside. They've nicely boxed it in with glass to make sure you can't get stuck up under there, I presume. Yeah, needs a bar. Got to imbibe some of the deity drinks, I guess. But there you go. I'm glad I kind of took a look around because I didn't notice that the first time. It's one of those things that if you don't pay attention, you can miss some interesting details. Okay, moving on to the next part. First, we'll visit this little, I don't know if it's like a pool or, I guess it's just a pool. Again, I think these are the newer waterfalls down here and the older version for the water bits coming in. And fun use of the topiaries. I think they purposely recolored them to a kind of a black and white, so they look like stone instead of greenery. The next one is, I think it's called the Colosseum, and you'll see why, because it's built by Cool West, so it's the Colosseum. And the water here it looks funny coming out because it's like he's shooting it out or like projectile vomiting or something. Again, cylinders or domes just layered up for this little raised part. And then they've got the Oran walls lining the water here. Nicely done because it comes right up to the edge. I don't know if they chose this particular shape because that's the shape of the waterfall water, or if there's multiple waterfall waters here to fill in the shape. I'm not really for positive, but you can see how they've put statues in all the little archways up here. There's the banners, of course. Just going to go around the edge here, because there are a few elements on the side here. And these busts in the stone, I don't know if this is supposed to be like a Roman kind of like Mount Rushmore or what. This is where you would enter this individual plot if you came to just Cool West's little bit of it. Yeah, it looks like they're carved out of the mountain. That's what it reminds me of. Obviously, these are like places where vendors would sell their wares and goods to those coming to watch the gladiators, I guess. nicely unmanned so that if a role play troop wants to come, they can have their members set up their little bits here and give a little Mount Coolmore. Yeah, something like that, Bones. You can see a little bit of the trim of the next area there. Using those, what I call the Draken pillows, but it's the shields for the decoration. And then this part here is the bars again for that nice archway. And if you're wondering about the fireworks in the sky, I have absolutely no idea about the names of a lot of the sky remodels because I personally tend not to really change them much. So I don't really pay attention too much, but you could tell that the skies do change depending on what plot of the community you're on. Um, so that's something, it helps change the mood, you know, like if you have a spooky woods kind of area and then it transitions off into something else, changing the sky does help kind of bring that in rather than having like just sunny sky everywhere. But it might be a little weird if you have it raining on one part and then not raining on another. I don't know. I think that would be weird. Okay, let's see. I'm going to quickly go back to that entrance part because I don't know which way we're supposed to come into the Coliseum. I'm sure I can go in anywhere where there's stairs, but I kind of want to go where the main part would be. I guess is probably should have went the other way. Over here where the main part is, maybe. Or not. That's what I get for running around. I know that the entrance to the where the gladiators would go, I think, is over here. Because when I was visiting yesterday, there was somebody running around in here. They were probably wondering why I was there, but this is where the battle takes place. There's strewn corpses and bones, and of course the welders galore. Good for those that are looking for some actiony kind of animation going on. If you really want to get super creative, you could probably use some of those fireworks that actually have animated explosions and stuff. The bunker house, I think, is, where is that thing? I think it's under this here somewhere. But again, it's one of those that's empty. There we go. You can actually get to it, but there's nothing in there. I think this is the one that has like the just a couple of cages, like Dominion cages, and then like yeah, it's just like nothing in there. But this part here is the cellar entrances, and then it's topped with a decking piece. Same way here, and the same stuff. I don't know if it's meant to be like some just some obstacle stuff, but here's like the guy in midair getting ready to use his lightsaber on the other one. So some nice little action shots if you want to take a good screenshot of a fight. There you go. And of course, you've got the overall view of the stands for the spectators. Try not to move too fast because if you're like me, you get motion sick real easy. So um, guess that would be the main door. So this appears to be like the VIP room or where the ruler is, and he's, like thumbs down, thumbs up for whoever gets to survive or not. A little annoying with the scanner box coming through with its little laser thing, but maybe it's to check for unwanted weapons in case they're trying to do an assassination or something. I don't know. Funny that they're using beds for the seating. Yeah, and hard to take a nice screenshot because it's got that green lit up. Let's see if I can unlight everything. There we go. You just have to turn your character away from whatever's interactable, and that will remove the green highlight. This leads up to the stands. It's just regular staircases. I've seen some use just hover park pieces so that you don't have all this like kind of like Venetian blind effect going on. But either or works. Great setup for a sport arena if you want to do like football or soccer or something. Oh, yeah, I guess so. There was the grapes on the table there with the wine for them lounging. I'm gonna cheat and just hop up here. Now it looks like for these bits here, it looks like they're using those uh, the bronze or metal emblems. There's a ton of them though. I don't know how easy that item is to get a hold of, but wowzers if they manage to get that many. I don't know if it's something you can buy from a vendor, reputation vendor, and they just happen to buy tons of them as well. Yeah, you can see part of the, what would that be? Probably the Notre Dame bit there. But again, massive arena here, just unbelievable. It would be hilarious and amazing if they could get enough people to come over and fill the stands up. I mean, you can see how small I am in comparison. That would be just an enormous amount of players. It would probably crash the system if we had that many people in one location. I know there's some achievements in housing for like having a lot of people come visit your plot at the same time, but I don't think that's what they had in mind. Yeah, definitely great PvP. Now, the only thing about housing and PvP, I think there's issues with like line of sight, because I know there was a lot of players that wanted to build their own PvP arenas. But the problem is you can shoot right through everything. There's nothing that actually physically blocks your attacks and stuff like it does in the PvP battlegrounds and stuff. Now, there are PvP specific stab kits that have that effect, but they're kind of on the small side. And like I said, if you add anything to it, just kind of it's more cosmetic than anything. It doesn't really affect your ability to shoot through it or not. Another look. But yeah, if they could set up, somehow make the mechanics work properly with collision and being able to shoot through stuff, I think a lot of folks would love to be able to set up PvP battlegrounds and arenas of their own, making. There's some that have actually done it, but again, it's more cosmetic than anything. They have to kind of pretend. They do a role play kind of battle. I guess where they roll dice or something. I don't really know, but I don't think you can have an actual proper PvP battle in the sense that most would love to. It's just like with hover park racetracks and stuff. Folks would love to have, we have the Z-Pre Invitational uh, in the open world where they have it set up where you have like little rings that you can go through and get like a speed boost and stuff. I think if we could get those kind of housing items that had like the little bouncy shrooms and the speed rings and the stuff that actually directly affects your character and how it works, folks would love to incorporate those into their own uh, hover park racetracks and stuff. Right now, it's just us riding around normally, kind of weirdly. But yeah, here's those columns I was talking about. These are actually using the pillars. I think they've elongated it a little bit more of an oval shape than an actual round, but it's kind of the same principle. It's just multiples of those pillars, and they've turned them to make it into a solid roundish column, ovalish column. Again, using those charming bars and then hover part pieces. I think they're called edge pieces to get these. I used them in my catacombs on a Shades Eve plot one time. They have some nice elements that come down and you can add the columns to them. This is called the Forum, and it is by Empty Bunker. No, that's not it. Zeradal Amaru Shakur. It's a funny name. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, so my apologies on that. The bunker, Empty Bunker, is over here, I think. You'll see the little pop-up. Get in the right spot. Around here somewhere. Somewhere around here. I know I found it yesterday, but again, it's empty, so not a big issue. But again, the pillars are probably my favorite element of this, and then just the design of how they put the upper wall parts together. But again, it's more to my liking because I like that sameness, the uniformity, the symmetry to it. Again, charming bars, heavily used in this one. You see the Colosseum from here. The Notre Dame is, I think, right around here. It almost looks like waterfalls because of my graphics, how it's treating those pillars. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be like one of those public bath kind of setups. I don't see like towels and things like that, so maybe it's just a water feature for this particular. Trying not to go under the water because it kind of hazes up things, but best way I can show the ceiling here, the vaulted ceiling. See if I can go up above. There's the entrance to this particular plot. Yeah, here we go. I knew I was up here before, but I can't remember where the stairs were. was. Yeah, a lot of attention to detail. It's just everything's super oversized. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like the Arc de Triomphe or something. That's what it reminds me of. But it gives the illusion that you could connect this to another community part and just ride on into the next area. But I think the interesting part here is the chariots. I thought this was kind of cute. It's the rockets, those metal emblems of the Red Moon sign, curved walls, and then decking pieces. And obviously the statue, but notice they didn't give like ropes or anything to show that these Yurok are actually pulling it, but it's not really needed. I mean, if you want to add that extra detail, you can, but I thought that was cute. It's simple, just a few pieces, but you know what it's supposed to be. And that's really the thing that counts the most, I think, with a lot of these little handcrafted or custom decor. Okay, like I cannot get up there. Trying to get to a high point so we can look out. There's the Notre Dame. There's the St. Pierre area, the temple, the Colosseum. So you can get a good shot of everything. Again, it gives you a good idea of how expansive, how much land is actually involved in a community plot. Want to take on that kind of massive project. Again, it's not for everybody, but if you have the time. All right, Bones, see you later. Have a good day. We'll probably see you next week, maybe. But if you have the time and the patience and obviously the inspiration, um, it's an awesome way to, show off your creativity. Another good shot of the Colosseum here. Surrounding pools. An awesome build, and I like that they were able to carry the overall theme throughout. I think I've come across a few communities where it does look pretty like a patchwork job, that they didn't really have a full-on concept in mind. They just kind of probably did it like I do. I just kind of I like to make it sound fancy. I organically put it together, but it's really I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of threw some stuff together, and then whatever I ended up with, that's what I ended up with. But this kind of plot to me just oozes that they took a lot of planning in how they laid out the streets that join everything, how they've set up the sidewalk parts, and clearly defined each little zone, how they bordered it up. Some might have just stuck with complete um, uh, structured walls, but they went, there's walls, but there's also greenery, there's also the mountain part. So there's a little difference here and there, and that helps break up and make it keep it interesting, so it's not completely uh, too much of the same thing. But yeah, definitely a fun build, especially if you're going for a particular feel as far as Roman days and stuff. Want to come to a gladiator fight, just want to come and relax in the temple. Great place for a guild meeting or a guild gathering prior or after a battle, or a raid thing, battlegrounds even. But yeah, and yeah, like you said, TW, there's even for some of my simplified builds that are nothing compared to this, I always do a little bit of research. If nothing else, um, Googling up images to inspire me on how maybe I want to do a layout of a house or a garden. So I have no doubt that a lot of these elements, like this Saint Pierre thingy and the temple, are very representative of what they're portraying as to compared to whatever real object or structure that they're playing off of. Again, I'm not very familiar with Roman stuff other than, I know there's a Colosseum and everything, but uh, I'm sure they did their research as far as what kind of shapes and things to use, the column style that they wanted, uh, even down to probably statue placements and things that they wanted to kind of mimic, give it some familiarity to those that are uh, aware of what it should look like and how closely they represent it. But like this part here, you know, something probably a lot of people just run past, but this impresses me just how smoothly they were able to build this curve in with these square pieces. It seems like a no-brainer, but trust me, that's not easy to do and have it look as uniform as it is. Or at least not for me. Maybe it's just me and everybody else has it down pat. And it's just me that gets that messed up. But even when I'm using Katya's builder toolkit, I can mess that up when I'm like trying to build stairs and stuff. I think it's just me, but but yeah, there's research that goes in not only for the look of something, but ideas as well. Maybe they already knew they were going to have a coliseum and a temple, but they weren't sure about what else. And then maybe some pictures and stuff brought this garden area to light and gave them that extra element for that fifth and final plot section. Who knows? It might have all started with the Notre Dame thing. Might have started with this, and then from there they just researched and thought up, okay, do I think I can build this? This would be fun to include, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like when you're building just a regular house. A lot of people will approach it differently. Some will build the house, make all the separated rooms or spaces, if they're going to have multiple floors, and then they divvy it all up, and then they try to decide what to fill the rooms with. Okay, is this going to be a bedroom? Is this going to be a closet? Is this going to be a bathroom? Me, I do the opposite. I kind of think, okay, what rooms do I want? And then I divvy it up accordingly. Like if I know I want the kitchen downstairs and the living room downstairs and maybe an office downstairs, then I know I only need 3 spaces, and then I divvy it up in that way. But others will divvy it up, and then comes the problem where maybe they have 5 rooms on a floor, but they can only think of like 3 things to put up there. So then they start struggling, and I think that's like a forced kind of, well, I have to put something there, and then they just kind of turned into, just kind of a wishy-washy thing. So yeah, I think it depends. That's why I like doing the tours. because if you're thinking about building like a little city plot like this, or a themed plot of this nature, even if you're not going for Roman theme, um, this gives you an idea of, okay, you want to think about the spacing between the plots, how you want to do the flooring or the roads, or things like that, how you want to do the outer wall, if you want to leave it open, some do, you want to enclose it, you want to make it enclosed all the way or just parts of it. Um, and then, of course, because the community is set up in a way that you can zigzag through it, there's no like, especially with an open design like this, I could have chosen to go through different ones. You know, I could have zigzagged however way I want. Others will really make it more of a linear kind of route where there's only one path to go. Um, Sometimes that's great, depending on the setup, and other times it can feel a little enclosed. I don't want to say claustrophobic, because I mean, like Siskiy's cave system, it's nice. And there's, I think if I remember right, there's multiple routes to the same areas, so it's kind of not mazy, but sort of in some places. Um, but I think I prefer where you have multiple ways of getting to the same location rather than keeping it strictly linear, because people just like to approach things differently. Some will come at it from a different angle. But you know, there are those that will like say, you know, they'll line the path with arrows and say, you must go this way, and that's the way they want you to visit their plot. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, again, it takes a lot of planning to make sure that someone doesn't veer off, walks off into the bushes or something where you don't want them to go, that kind of thing. So yeah, a lot involved, I think. Again, it's another reason why I like to do these tours, to kind of help people that really maybe aren't always involved in the housing or just getting started in it, to understand the depth of commitment that comes with a lot of these projects. People are willing to work hours, weeks, months, even years, creating these little home away from home kind of structures, and some are telling stories, and others are just looking for an outlet for their creative expression. Some keep it small, and others go big, like this one. So yeah, it's a little bit, you know, it's there's it doesn't matter how involved you want to be into it. If you want to just keep it small, you're welcome to do that. If you want to go big, it's there too. Basically, you're just limited by your imagination, because we've seen plenty of examples of so many things that really it's just anything goes. It just takes a lot of time and effort, and if you have it, are willing to share it, that's where we come in, as far as trying to show folks, look at this amazing stuff that people have put together. I haven't had too much experience with other games housing uh, features, just very shallowly in some, but I've read enough and seen enough where I'm pretty confident in saying this is probably one of the best housing systems, with the most freedom, I think. Some aspects of it, yeah, it's kind of like the prefab house is always in the same location. The fab kits, while you can kind of rearrange them a little bit, it's always expected to be a certain way. Um, but if you look past that part, and you know, can abide by the decor limits and stuff, uh, it's just almost limitless what you can do if you just put your mind to it. Um, Keep in mind, for those of you that are kind of longing for additional decor limits, right now it's 2,500 on the exterior per plot and 2,500 on the interior per plot. you get like a total of 5,000 together. But remember, we started out with 300. I can't even imagine how we did that before. I know we had some amazing plots even in the early days, but wow, we've come such a long way to that, um, to getting to this point where, you know, while I wouldn't mind additional space, I consider it just part of the challenge of housing, to work within the limits we're given, to work within uh, the limited decor that we have. Granted, there's probably thousands of pieces to work with, but to know that even some of these items, like the basic general building blocks, they can be constantly used in new and interesting ways to combine together and to make fun builds of things. Like I said, you can give uh, 10 people the exact same items, same number of them, and say, build me this, and you will get 10 different versions. It won't matter. People will think about things similarly in some ways, but there will always be those little pieces that gives it just a little difference that makes it unique to them. So again, even if this is a Rome-inspired build, if you want to do a Rome-inspired build, I guarantee you yours will look nothing like this. It'll be its own version of it. So don't be hampered by, well, someone's already built that, I don't want to do it. Go for it. Just like vehicles, we've seen tons of cars and trucks and planes and ships. Every single time, it's always something new and interesting, regardless if someone else has built it in the past. Um, so just go for it. It's always fun and entertaining. Anyway, I think that's it for today, guys. I know it's kind of a short thing, but again, with the bunker houses not really being too occupied with much, there wasn't any extra to go visiting around. And while there are a lot of structures, it's pretty much, you know, cut and dry as far as the pieces being used. There's not too many surprises, I don't think. Again, if you have any questions, you can post them on the YouTube video comments, and I'll try to answer them there. We don't get too many that way, but we do get some from time to time. Of course, if you want to get additional help in housing, we do have a special housing sub-forum in the official forums for WildStar. I don't think it's like overly active, but if people post questions, there are plenty of fellow builders that will hop in and give advice and answer your questions if you have something specific, like you're wanting to brainstorm or something. There's also the in-game housing channels. If you're just in the zone of housing, then you can chat with other housers that are there, or join an actual housing circle. There are several. I've got a few posted, I think, in the information page on my Twitch channel. I don't know if they're overly active right now. Again, I don't get much time to play in-game myself. So I haven't really been super active in that regard, so I can't confirm how active that group is still, but they used to be. They were kind of on the quiet side to begin with, but if someone piped up and asked questions, they were happy to oblige in answering or brainstorming, or maybe someone wanted just an opinion of something they had built. You can get that way, but you can ask in general chat even. I do know there are a few guilds that are kind of not completely focused on housing, but they do involve themselves heavily in it. Some might be role-playing troops, but I think they welcome anyone, even if they don't uh, plan to engage in the actual role-play element of it. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth, and getting hooked up with fellow builders, those are the ways to go about it. Look for some, just kind of ask around in the chat, in the forums, and yeah, should be good. So thank you guys for joining us today. Remember, we'll be back next week with another tour. We'll probably be hopping on to Entity side for that one. In the meantime, good luck with your guys' projects, and hope you have a great week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.